Zoom waiting room. All right, looks like we have most of our applicants in. Good afternoon. My name is Mel Barnes. I'm Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Evers. I am going to introduce my fellow members of the Pardon Advisory Board who will be participating in the hearing this afternoon. And then I will go through some housekeeping items about how the hearing will run this afternoon before we start hearing from all of our applicants. So with us today in the Zoom, other members of the Pardon Advisory Board include Judge Jeffrey Kremers. Judge Kremers is Attorney General Call's nominee to this board. He served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, including as chief judge for 7 of those years, and he retired in 2018. With us also is board member Noble Ray, who served with the Madison Police Department for almost 28 years, including as chief of police from 2004 to 2013. He led the U.S. Justice Department's Policing Practices and Accountability Initiative and currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the country and around the world. Board member Reverend John McVicker Sr. is the founding pastor of Christ the King Baptist Church in Milwaukee, and he also serves as board chairman for King's Academy Christian School and is an associate chaplain for the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. Board member Myrna Warrington is the director of vocational rehabilitation on the Menominee Indian Reservation. She is a U.S. Army veteran and has been a member of the Menominee Tribal Legislature for over 15 years. Board member Reverend Jerry Hancock is also with us on the Zoom today. He is the director of the Prison Ministry Project, and he previously served as both a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. We may have an additional board member or two join us later in the afternoon, but we will go ahead and get started. So applicants, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Just so you know, the hearing is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. We'll ask you to mute yourself and keep your video off until it's your turn to be heard by the board. That just allows us to make sure we have clear audio and that the board can focus on the person who's currently speaking. If you do have any IT issues with the Zoom, don't worry. Someone from the team will reach out to you and get those sorted out. If Zoom isn't working when it's your turn in the agenda, we will come back to you. So we'll just get it sorted out as best we can. We'll call folks otherwise in the order that's listed on the open meetings notice agenda. And each person will have about 5 minutes total to be heard by the board. We'll ask you to use the first 3 minutes or so to answer the questions that were provided to you in advance of today's hearing. And then we'll use the last 2 minutes to see if there are any questions from the board members or anything that we want to follow up on. So as a reminder, the questions you'll be answering during those first 3 minutes are giving us a brief summary of your offenses and how your sentence went. 2, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including any community involvement or employment. And 3, a brief statement on why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. And then, as I said, if there are questions, the board will follow up. Don't read too much into it either way. Sometimes all your questions are just answered. All our questions are answered by your application. Once the board is done asking you questions, you're welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing. You do not need to hang out with us all afternoon. The board will then move into closed session after hearing from all of the applicants and decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order for your application to be forwarded. The governor will then decide to accept or reject your application. And either way, you should hear from our office in about a month or 2 after today's hearing. So we'll go ahead and get started with our afternoon applicants then. And first up on the agenda, we have Mr. Robert Anderson. Mr. Anderson, can you hear us? Mr. Anderson, looks like you're joining us by phone. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Perfect. We'll turn it over to you then.
Okay. what do I do?
We're going to ask you to start by spending about 3 minutes answering the questions that you were sent in advance of the hearing. So as a reminder, those are first starting with a brief description of your offense and how your sentence went, then a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including employment or community involvement, and then finally telling us why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one.
Okay. You want me to read what my offenses were first?
Sure, great place to start.
Okay, well, like forgery back in 65, theft back in 66, I got a year probation. Burglary back in 67, I got 5 years plus 2 years. And theft again in 75, I got 9 months probation, Huber law. And that's it.
And can you tell us a little bit about what was going on when you committed those offenses? They are somewhat close together in time, and just tell us a little bit about what was going on and what's different in your life now.
Well, forgery, I was living on the street. And I seen a envelope in the mailbox, and it had a check in it for $30 or something. And I just signed it and cashed it. I didn't have no money or nothing to eat or nothing. And theft, I was in 66. I was in my insurance guy's office, and he had some cash on the table, and I just put it in my pocket. In 67, my windshield got broken in my car, and we went into an old junkyard and looked for a windshield in an old car, and we found one. And I got 5 years for that and 2 years for breaking and entering. And I swiped a bulldozer, an old bulldozer we found in the woods back in 75. And I got Huber law, I think 9 months probation or something. And that was it.
And can you tell us a little bit about how your time on your sentences, either in prison or on probation, went? Did anything about that time change anything in your life, or did you do any counseling, anything like that?
No, I got married in 79, and that's when everything changed. We started a business, a logging business, and we had a bunch of men working for us, and the business kept going until I retired in, I think, 2019 I retired. Went on Social Security.
Great. And can you tell us just anything else that you think that we should know about your time after your sentence, including, any other community involvement or anything other than your employment and your marriage that you think the board should know about?
Well, I never got in trouble no more. We built a home up in Minocqua, then finally we sold that and moved down by Mattoon, and we got to live on 22 acres there, and we got the river here and everything, and well, we built a garden and stuff, and I just putz around the house here, and I build racing motors on the side. I built a big shop here, and I think that's about it. Don't get in trouble no more.
Great. And can you tell us a little bit about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one?
Well, I just think I served enough time for what I did. More than enough time. I just would like to, a couple of years ago, I was going to run for on the town board here, and I found out I couldn't because of that. Not that I'm going to anymore. I guess I'm going to be 78 years old now, so I just think I served enough time for what I did.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
It's really been bothering me all this time. I have nightmares and everything about it. I mean, that's guy said 45, 50 years ago.
All
I
right.
got a good marriage here. I think I got 5 daughters now, and they're all grown up and gone. And I mean, I just think I should get apart, and it's just I hope I can.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I'm just going to see if any of our board members have other questions for you. And it looks like Reverend Hancock does. So, Reverend Hancock?
Mr. Anderson, just help me do the math here. You got 5 years in prison for forging a $68.75 check.
Yes.
You stole $31. And you took a windshield valued at $309.50. You got 5 years.
I got a lot of time. I know that.
You got 5 years for 3 offenses less than $500. I agree with you. You certainly did enough time, and the fact that you stayed out of trouble is a great accomplishment. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Anderson? No. All right. Mr. Anderson, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us and talk with us today. You're welcome to log off the Zoom. And as I mentioned earlier, you can expect to hear about the outcome of your application in about a month or 2.
Okay, that's all there's to it, huh? Okay.
That's all there is to it.
Worried over nothing, I guess. Okay. Well, thank you.
All right, our next applicant this afternoon is Mr. Seth Pendle. Mr. Pendle?
I'm gonna shut this off now, huh?
Yep. All right, Mr. Pendle, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, I appreciate it. Good afternoon. My name is Seth Pendle. I would like to thank the board and the administration for this opportunity, and also for committing resources where others in the past have fell short. In 1995, I was convicted of a party to a crime burglary. I spent a short time in the House of Corrections, and then was placed on probation with restitution for 3 years. The probation got extended for about 2 additional years, allowing me more time to complete the restitution payments. Upon completing my sentence, when this happened, I was still in high school. So I went on to complete my HSED from WCTC. I learned a skilled trade in automotive repair, and I've been self-employed for the past 2 decades. I obtained a Master Craftsman level certification from Vail Training in 2013. I have purchased a house. I made many improvements over several years, and with the help of my wonderful wife, we have made this house into a home for our 2 healthy, happy children. I participated as a mentor in a project called Build Moto. It basically it's teams of high school students that are paired with mentors and faculty members, and we're teaching tech skills through motorcycle building. It was a very humbling experience, to say the least. Life is exactly who you surround yourself with. My life before conviction compared to my life now is absolutely profound, and it's a direct reflection of who I have surrounded myself with. The people in my life now are some of the most humble and caring people that I could imagine. It took me a long time to forgive myself for the involvement in this crime. The embarrassment that I brought upon my family members will never be forgotten, and the impact on the victims, I'm sure, will always remain. I'm hoping that enough time has passed, that the state can grant me the public forgiveness, that I'm seeking here today.
Thank you, Mr. Pendel. Questions from board members? Jerry?
Mr. Pendel, the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office supports your application. How does that make you feel?
Encouraged that, that's one more entity or, the people behind that entity, that are actually willing to publicly give me another chance to move forward.
Yeah. Thank you.
Judge Kremers.
A couple of questions. Good afternoon, sir. A couple of questions. First one, although it's not absolutely required, strongly encouraged that applicants submit letters of support. You didn't do that. Why not?
Well, I got myself into this mix, and I wouldn't want to burden anybody else that I know to even come forward and put their name behind, what is ultimately my responsibility.
Okay. So this was in 1995, your underlying crime, and you got 3 years probation and paid restitution. You were done in roughly 1998. But then we have this situation in Florida in both 2004, where you had 8 counts of criminal traffic, apparently, and in 2007, a driving while intoxicated, refusal to submit to a blood or breath test. What was going on in those 2 circumstances?
The first one, it was basically a DUI, driving while intoxicated. I was ultimately not convicted of that charge. The second one in 2007, it was my roommate and I had both been work-related travel for months. We got home roughly the same time, decided to go out, obviously drinking, and it was just another mistake, that I made, and I tried to look at all the positive things from that, the positive things that I could learn from that mistake. I went through anger management, all the counseling. Actually, when I moved back to Wisconsin actually made me do some of the same required classes that I did in Florida. It changed my life, and I think it changed it for the better. The OWI conviction was one of the deciding factors that made me move back to Wisconsin from Florida, and that led me to ultimately meeting my wife, and led me to having 2 great kids, and exactly where I am in my life right now. I'm not perfect by any means. I make mistakes. I try to make less mistakes as I get older, and I try to learn from the mistakes that I do make.
And as to your use of alcohol now, what's your situation?
I still do drink, not nearly what I did in my earlier days. I definitely do not drive. Uber is a great resource, but really, with kids, I can't remember the last time my wife and I even went out. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Pendel? No. All right. Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Pendel. Appreciate you taking the time to be with us and talk with us today. And as I mentioned previously, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom. We hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next applicant is Mr. Philip Northrup. Mr. Northrup, we're ready to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Philip Northrup. I was convicted of a Class C felony burglary dwelling on February 24th, 1997. I was sentenced to 1 year in the Racine County Jail. I was able to get Huber release because I was still young and in high school. So basically, this is kind of cliche, but I did fall in the wrong crowd of friends, and we had broken into a couple businesses after store hours. And like I said, I was sentenced to that year in Racine County Jail. I did have a 5-year state prison sentence, which I never had to serve. I was 3 years of probation as well with community service and restitution. I'm almost positive I've done all of my obligations for that. So yeah, I served 9 months of my 12-month sentence because of good behavior with the Huber release to be able to continue my education while I was incarcerated. And then when I was released, I never looked back. There, being a young kid in jail with a bunch of older people around me, basically kind of scared me straight from that. They told me, once you get out, just don't look back. You don't want this life, which I never wanted in the first place. Basically, since the completion of my sentence, I have grown as a person. I didn't finish my schooling. I did get my GED. My wife that I married in August of 2000, we wound up, while we were 18, wound up having a child, our first child, one of 6 children actually that we have together. We've been married since August of 2000. Basically I found the love of my life shortly after I was released. Shortly after I was released, the reason why I was kind of having some issues in school and I wasn't able to finish. So I was released in November of 97. In February of 98, my younger brother had passed away, which kind of was heartbreaking, and it shouldn't have derailed my focus from school. But when you have a brother that's basically a year and a half younger than you and you guys are really close, it was hard to deal with that. And it basically distracted me and took my focus off of school. But I did continue to get my GED after my graduating class as soon as I could. With my wife and my 6 kids that I have, my oldest being 25, we actually have 3 grandkids together. I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. I found football in 2004, which keeps me really busy. I still continuously play to this day. It is a semi-pro league. I love it. I enjoy it. I'm able to talk and mentor younger guys coming up if they're having any problems. I've also coached youth football. I've helped coach my sons when flag or in tackle football, and always trying to help them, become young men. I donate my time helping at my parish, whether it be St. Charles Fall Festival. They have spaghetti dinners, turkey dinners. I try and donate my time as much as I can. I have also helped at one of the places that has I've done community service. Well, not community service, but I've been involved in the community at the school one of the schools we broke into at their fall their festival that they have actually yearly. I get called to come and help with that. It's been a couple of years since they've actually called me. I'm not sure if that same person's still doing that. It's unfortunate. But I try to donate as much time as I can. I donate to the town of Burlington where I currently reside now. They have a jamboree every year. It used to be called Chocolate Fest. I help do that. I've always been employed or working or have a job since 1999. Basically when my first child was born. So I've dabbled in a lot of jobs, unfortunately. I've had a few jobs. I've dabbled in construction, working in a service department at a dealership as a lube tech, which actually wound up becoming a service advisor. So I kind of worked my way up in there. I liked that job. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I worked with seamless steel siding and gutters. I worked with my dad, selling safety shoes for about 8 years. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. They came down. They said they were taking the company in a different direction. Actually, both let me and my father both go at that time, which kind of was a bummer. I worked for a company, American Power Equipment in Waterford, where I used to live. I worked there for 3 years. They were a mom and pop store. They really didn't have much for benefits, which I needed with my big family. And I'm currently at a factory. We make corrugated paper. They have the benefits that I need for health, dental, vision insurance, all that stuff. So I've always been trying to put my family first and trying to do what's best, basically, with that. As far as the pardon goes, this happened back in '97. I was 16. I was young. I was immature. I was very, very dumb. I feel like I shouldn't have actually been waived into adult court and tried as an adult. Obviously, I'm not the judge. I'm not the one that decided that. That was my feeling. I was the youngest person involved in the group. There was a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old. 17-year-old actually got to stay in juvenile detention. I was made out to look like the ringleader by both of them. With everything that had been done, I can't take what done is back. I can't take what was done back. But there's not a day that goes by I wish I could take it all back. I'm still very remorseful for what happened so long ago. It'll probably always eat at me. I have asked for forgiveness from my priest and asked for a pardon by you. So thank you for listening to me today and allowing me to have this hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Northrup. We'll just see if the board members have any questions for you, and it looks like Judge Kremers does.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. To your point about why you were waived to adult court, I had that same question when I read your materials because you were 16. But so my question is, did you have any other juvenile contacts before this burglaries?
Not any crime like that. I mean, I had like gotten in trouble for shooting a BB gun in the town of Waterford. It wasn't, not any theft thing or anything that I can recall off the top of my head like that. So I mean, I felt like other than, like I said, I know I got in trouble for shooting a BB gun. We were shooting it into some water. Apparently we weren't allowed to be shooting a BB gun where we were at. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend Hancock, did you have one as well?
Mr. Northrup, did you see the letter we got from St. Thomas School? Did you see that letter?
The letter, I did not.
Yeah. All right, let me tell you what it says. It says, yeah, it says that this is the school you broke into. And it says that they would support your pardon in every way.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel truly blessed. I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't seen the letter. My mom, because my mom's in Waterford, I'm in Burlington. My mom and a lot of our family actually know them. I actually know who wrote the letter, not like very personal, but my parents do. My older brother does. So I had heard that he had written a letter, and like I said, I was truly blessed that he did. I had heard actually even long ago before I was sentenced that Father Van Beek, because it was Catholic school that we broke into. Father Van Beek had actually written a letter saying that he did not want me to be charged with anything at that time. I don't know if that letter has been lost to time or not, but I heard he had written a letter on my behalf as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? No? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Northrup. Appreciate your time and you sharing so much with us today. And as you probably heard me mention to other folks, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
All right. Thank you very much. You have a great weekend. Thank you for allowing me to have this time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
All right. Our next applicant is Mr. Lawrence Jordan. And Mr. Jordan, I will just note that Judge Kremers is not going to participate in hearing your application or questioning, not because he doesn't want to, but because he was a judge involved in your case. So he is going to recuse himself and not participate. But the rest of the board members will hear from you now. So please go ahead and proceed with your statement.
You guys see me?
Oh, there we go. Yep, we can see you. You're just a little quiet. If you could talk a little closer to the microphone.
Yes, indeed. All right. Is that better?
Yes, much.
Okay, perfect. First off, I want to thank the committee, Governor Evers committee, and all of those who supported me in this situation, and the time. When you guys asked as far as the brief, I don't know if you received my letter, but the letter was longer than just being brief. So I kind of sum it up to be brief. As far as I committed, I'm asking for a felony pardon. I committed crimes in 1993, 94, and 95. Forgery, theft by fraud, and forgery uttering. And I committed these crimes when I was 18, 19, and 20 years old. And since then, I have full accountability for these crimes mentally and physically. Physically being being locked up and put incarcerated, and mentally just coming over it. These crimes, first off, the reason I did it, at that time, I was just naive and unguided. I had dropped out of high school with about 4 credits left, 3 credits left. That shows you I was just out of there. 3 credits left to finish in high school, and I dropped out of John Marshall High School. At that time, I was bouncing around from house to house in the middle of Milwaukee. 53206 that's all I know pretty much. 38th and Wright, 10th and Hadley. 38th and Center. So I was bouncing around during that time and dropped out of high school. So the crimes happened just being influenced by most people on those blocks, looking at what they drove and what they had on. I didn't have any of those things. I lived with my mother at that time. And father was not in my life. So just unguided, undisciplined. And those crimes in itself, 93, this is the influence part pretty much. I went to the movies, and it was this movie called A Menace to Society. And the guy drove a Mustang. He had these gold rims on it. And I said, hey, I wanted to be like that. And it brought me back to where I'm from. I saw everybody on them, and I said, I gotta have it. And so that kind of triggered me to do what I did. I couldn't sell drugs. I was too scared to sell drugs. And even though some of them had pressured me to, but I couldn't. Just didn't know anything about it. I was pretty much scared of guns and the violence piece. I was a little guy. So it forced me to do what I had to do. And that was, I said, well, okay, checkbook. And so I passed a fake check for the first car, the Mustang in 93. Got caught up about, I don't know how long after, probably 2 weeks after, a week after, and got arrested. I was given probation. I remember that, sitting in front of Judge Maxine White. And I was about 17 when I did it, turned 18 in that January. Second time I got a bracelet at that time. So I was on the bracelet and did the same thing again, trying to get what was around me in my environment, which was another car. And I passed another fake check. This was about for 3 straight years that I did it. And in 95, so it was just constant going back and forth, dealing with probation and the streets and trying to become and get that status at that time. So in 95, I did it. And well, about a week later after I did it, arrested. I never forget that, on 35th and Fond du Lac. And I went to jail in 1995. I think I went to jail with OJ at that time, OJ Simpson. So, and I was in downtown Milwaukee. But at that time, I was sentenced to 4 years. I had to sit in jail, which it spooked the heck out of me. But while sitting in jail, I got sentenced to 4 years at that time, with probation. No, 4 years. And then I did a year and I think I did about 22 months. And I got out in November. I remember 11/22. And Packers went to the Super Bowl that January. And from there, I learned how to really live. My aunt took me in. And I began working. While inside of prison, I started seeing some of the older guys that was actually from the same areas that I was from. And I had a few talks with some of them. And out of probably 10 of them that I saw, it was one that pretty much said, hey, you shouldn't be in here. This is not you. Look at you. So it kind of was a reflection. And ever since then, I haven't pretty much, it's a saying, tried to say, throw rocks at the penitentiary or trying to break into the penitentiary or jail. And ever since then, I've reflected on that moment. Actually, I was coming back from Chicago one time and just went by there just to just feel it at that time, because it's important. Since then, I've been working. As you can remember, when I first started, I dropped out of high school in 93. So when I got out in 97, I got my 97, 98. I got my GED, and I got my GED at MATC. It was some goals. So when you're in there, you have to do transitional planning, and I did that. And that was also a parole goal too. So I got my GED, and from there, after the GED, I started working because I had to get my own. I was living with my aunt for about a year and a half. I got my own place, started renting, started working, selling tools. After that, I just pretty much worked for another place called Wisconsin Citizen Action, where I was learning laws, and that was pretty much the stabilizing place there, where I was able to get around a better group of people, and that influence. And I want to talk about the influence was better for me. It was hard to be part of something negative when you're always around positive folks. So working until 2010, actually until 06. In 06, I had kidney failure, and that I found out I had kidney failure on my birthday in 06, and was on dialysis from 06 to 2010, got a kidney transplant in 2010 on October 2nd. October 2nd. So ran from coaching football Little League at that time, and shot straight up to Madison, had a transplant in 2010. Since 2010, while sitting in transplant and on dialysis, I've been always wanting to get back to school. So at that time, I became involved into sports, athletics, and I've been a male mentor since then. And in the coaching athletics piece, I've excelled in coaching athletics to youth football, to high school football, assistant coaches, head coaches in the city, travel team, and working in UW-Madison in the athletic department. But that pushes me into the education piece where after dialysis or after the transplant, it really creates the urgency of now in life. And so I started school from the GED. I finally got my associates in 2015 from MATC, immediately enrolled into University of Concordia for a bachelor's in org management. And after graduating, I immediately enrolled into graduate school, which was at UW-Madison in the ELPA program, and got my master's there. Since then, I've been teaching. I've been an assistant principal. I've been a substitute principal. I've been a mentor for Black and Latino male achievement. I've been a mentor to other young fathers in the Milwaukee area and the Madison area of just networking, having those from church. So pretty much since then, it's been my sentence was pretty much reflective of what should really be happening. The other reflection happened when the health crisis of been on dialysis for 3 years and having a kidney transplant in 2010. Since then, it's been amazing. And I'm 48 now. I know when I sent this letter in, I was at 47 last January. And so I have 6 kids now. 2 of my kids are in college. 3 currently live with me now. Yeah, those are the 3 youngest I have. They're ages 11. Both boys are 11, and my youngest is 5. Liberty's 5. So that's. I hope I answered pretty much all of those questions. My reason for wanting to pardon. I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead, Mr. Jordan. I was just gonna ask you to speak briefly to that last bit so we can see if there are any questions. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking for the pardon, to the board for the pardon, there are some things that I'm looking to do, and that those barriers that the felonies bring are just they're heavy. They're heavy when you've reached a place of just trying to accomplish more and more and more. It doesn't go away, but what it does, it opens up the gate, and I still have a whole life of testimony to give, and it seems like it's going to be even tougher to give that testimony when receiving the pardon, because now it's 3 phases to it. It's the barrier part. It's the beginning of when you did it. It's the middle through it, overcome it. And so I think explaining the why behind it is what I need to do on a higher level. I'm looking to, and I continue to speak it to my kids and anybody who I'm around, and I talk about critical thinking. And so some of the reasons why I want to do it, I would love to get into more law. I'm still interested in joining the law school in UW. I'm still at UW right now. The felony disqualifies me in some of the positions that I'm looking to go for until pardon. I can't travel, with my kids like I want to, like other people are traveling abroad, whether it's Africa or just going on these cruises and things. And I really want to be in public office one day, because I think I carry a voice for a lot of Black and brown who, and I can relate to them and actually be that bridge to say, if I can do it, you can do it. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. If there's any questions, I guess.
Any questions for Mr. Jordan? Oh, Jerry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Reverend Hancock has a question for you.
Yes.
The Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office supports your application. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel like it makes me feel amazing. I didn't get that letter back, and I've been calling. I've probably been a pest for him, but it makes me feel amazing, Dr. Hancock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Jordan, just one question from me. It looks like in between 2000 and 2010, there were a couple of restraining orders granted against you or applied for against you. Can you just speak a little bit to what was going on there?
Yeah. So, and I thought I put that in there. So I have children, and during that time, I think it was well, I don't want to say her name, but I don't know if I have to or not, but
No, you don't have to. I'm more just looking for if you can tell us a little bit about the circumstances and what you were going through and speak to that. You don't need to name any names.
Yeah. So during that time, it was pretty much arguments. And it was actually more of a retaliation where I tried to put a restraining order from someone continuing to show up, and it was denied. And there was another where we had an argument, and there was the restraining order put on. We had an argument, and this was the child's mother. She wanted to leave with the child. There were some, and it had been family at the house, and it was an event. And a lot of family was drinking. And I said, hey, I don't want the baby out. And she was pretty much a newborn. And there was an argument saying she can take the baby. So it was more influence from the outside, and it started a situation between me and the mother. There was we did have a physical, like, the fighting began.
I'll shut him up.
But at that time, things broke up there. It was more, back and forth, and restraining order was put on from there. Right now, I am, me and that mom, we're like the best of friends here. So,
Okay, so positive relationship now.
very positive.
Okay.
Very positive.
All right.
Any other?
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Jordan? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Appreciate your time today. And as I mentioned to everyone else, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom. You're welcome to enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Mr. Olson, Eric Olson. Do we have Mr. Olson? Oh, I see him on the phone. We just maybe need to get him unmuted. All right, Mr. Olson, it looks like you're unmuted now. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't have a computer. That's why I'm on the phone.
That's no problem. All right, we'll turn it over to you. If you want to give us a brief statement, about 3 minutes, answering those questions that were provided, and then we'll see if the board has any questions for you.
Okay. I was convicted in 2001 of possession of drug paraphernalia. And I got 5 months in jail, 5 years probation. I had to pay restitution, and I had to submit to a UA once a week. And so I finished that, and what was going on then, at that time in my life, I don't want this to sound like it's somebody else's fault, because it's not. It's my fault. But there were some things going on at home as I was growing up, and so I made the wrong decision, and I got caught. So since then, what I've been doing is, well, first of all, I stopped, and then I got my HSED because I had dropped out. I'm going to school now for animal health care. And I do, my life has changed in the respect where, as far as rehabilitation goes, I had to do a lot of inner work. So I joined the Unity Church. I do the daily reading every day. I meditate 3 times a day. I also repeat positive mantras to me, or to myself, and I do all these things 6 times a day. I also volunteer. I pick up trash on the trails, and I also do help rescue animals that are in need. The reason why I'm asking for a pardon is because so many doors have closed for me, like getting an apartment, getting jobs. I've actually been welcomed aboard to several companies, and but then they find out I have a felony, and they have a policy against that. Also, I'd like to help my mom out more and her cat, because she needs the help, and I'd really like to help her, and it'll open the door for me in several different ways. I know it doesn't go away. I know it's just a forgiveness, but that means a lot to a lot of people. Yeah, so since then I found spirituality, and it's really working for me. Also, I let all my friends go from back in those days. I had to. So I had to start from scratch because I just didn't want to be around it. I'm not looking to get into any more trouble. I cannot do that again. And I've got a lot of notes here written. I think, yeah, I also went through 10 years of therapy, and that helped quite a bit. And I still talk to a therapist, actually, but I was going 2 days a week for 10 years. Now it's more like a week, sometimes 2 weeks. So I'm doing what I have to do to keep my head straight and to improve my life, and it's working really good. I mean, I feel better about myself. Also, if I was given a pardon, I believe I'd be able to get financial aid. I don't know for sure, but so I can go back to school for something else. Like I said, I still am going to school for animal health care, but that's going to end here in a little bit. And I'm basically doing that so I can transport animals from kill shelters to non-kill shelters. And I also, I give blood, and I, let's see here. Oh yeah, I'm also learning sign language because I'm going deaf. I got 60% hearing loss, and I have tinnitus. And, but geez, I feel like I'm kind of all over the place here, but that's what I've got going on right now.
That sounds good, Mr. Olson. I think we maybe have a couple questions for you from the board. I just have one to start, which is, I noticed that in the 90s, perhaps one more recently, you had a couple of OWIs. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with alcohol now, and if that's changed in your life?
Yeah, I went, I see an alcohol counselor. I also went to 30 days treatment and 14 months of outpatient treatment, and I go to AA 3 times a week, and I've been sober for 10 years.
Did you say sober for 10 years?
Yeah, I believe it's 10 years. It's 9 or 10.
Okay, great, thank you. That makes sense based on those dates. I just didn't quite hear you. Other questions from the board?
I have one.
Oh, Myrna, go ahead.
So this application stuff says he claims 18 months of sobriety. Is it from alcohol? Is it from the drugs, or what is the 18 months?
No. It's alcohol. I don't do drugs.
You just made drugs, but you don't do them?
No, I didn't make drugs. I was never convicted of that. Those were, they found it was Epsom salt, because I was working on cabinets 12 hours a week. And on Friday, I'd take a bath in Epsom salt. So they thought that I was making meth, but that wasn't the case. It went to the lab, and they found it was the Epsom salt. So that was dropped. I was only convicted of possession of drug paraphernalia. And the place
is this wrong then in the application that says 18 months of sobriety?
18 months of sobriety?
Mr. Olson, I think the question that Myrna's trying to clear up is, it says 18 months of sobriety and that you attend meetings regularly, you have a sponsor. That would have been when you sent in your application. So it certainly might be longer now, but I think that she's pointing out there's quite a difference between 18 months or 9 to 10 years.
I think he said,
yeah,
18 months of,
go ahead.
I think he said 18 months of alcohol sobriety, 10 years of drug sobriety. Is that right, sir?
No, I quit drugs when I was in my 20s. I did drink though until I went to until I got those GWIs, and then I went to treatment. I think what they're talking about, if it's a probation violation, that was
how about just tell us, when did you stop using drugs?
29. When I was 29.
Okay, so you haven't used drugs in 22 years.
Yeah.
All right, and what about alcohol?
Alcohol, I've been sober 9 years. There was a mix-up. I was on probation. That was a medication situation. So I was released the next day.
Okay, then I guess Ms. Warrington's question is correct. In your application, it says, you said 18 months of sobriety. And now you're telling us it's been 10 years of sobriety. So which is correct?
10. I don't know how I put 18. I'll have to take a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Noble?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the Epsom salt. It says that you were found in possession of methamphetamine manufacturer paraphernalia. So was this to make Epsom salt, or was it to make methamphetamine?
No. I bought the Epsom salt because I was working 12 hours a day, and I found that on Friday night when I took a bath and soaked in Epsom salt, my muscles relaxed.
So you you never were in possession of methamphetamine manufacturing paraphernalia?
Yeah, that was dropped.
No, my question was, were you ever in possession of it?
Oh, no. I didn't have any drugs at all. In fact, it was a marijuana pipe that I had, and that had never been used. So no drugs were found at all.
No paraphernalia, no methamphetamine manufacturing, none of that stuff was found?
No, I had the paraphernalia.
Okay.
Let me try asking it this way, Mr. Olson. I think what Noble and some of the other board members are getting at here is, it looks like from the criminal complaint that police found basically all the ingredients for a meth lab, that there was a meth lab. So maybe you hadn't completed manufacturing drugs, but it was the ingredients used to make that was found. Is that correct?
When I went to court for that, my lawyer had asked he was the head of the task force, I believe, for methamphetamine in St. Clair County. And he asked him if those chemicals being together could have made methamphetamine. And his answer was no. Because I wasn't making meth.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Olson?
No.
None? All right. Mr. Olson, thank you very much for your time today and for taking the time to speak with us. As you've probably heard me mention to other folks, you don't need to hang out on the Zoom. You're welcome to enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Yeah, okay. If I could just ask one more question.
Sure.
It sounds like there's some kind of mix-up here where they thought I was making methamphetamine, and that turned out to not be the case. And I'm worried now that this is going to affect it.
Well,
Mr. Olson, the criminal charge here is possession of drug paraphernalia for methamphetamine, and the criminal complaint spells out like a meth lab. So Judge Kremer, I don't know if you want to take another swing at clarifying that.
Let me explain, sir. In the complaint, it says during the search warrant, they found a chemistry book with handwritten recipes for the mixture of manufacture of methamphetamine, a Cub Food paper grocery bag containing 200 matchbooks, of which the strike plate had been removed, a black notebook containing handwritten recipes for manufacturing methamphetamine, a stack of papers containing recipes for manufacturing meth, a echogram scale, a bottle with liquid containing 2 layers, which appeared to be an attempt to soak pills. They found in your bedroom, a box containing measuring spoons, small chrome hand scale, eyedroppers, baby syringes, muriatic acid, heat, gas line, antifreeze, red devil lye, Kingford lighter fluid, a glass casserole dish, a 1 gallon bottle of acetone, a 1 gallon bottle of Tulu, a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, and a funnel, another paper bag that contained a funnel labeled distilled water, a funnel labeled methanol, a funnel labeled tolly, a funnel with no label, a funnel labeled iodine, and a funnel labeled phenale. Also turned over were a pair of rubber gloves, a spatula, 2 partial boxes of coffee filters, 2 measuring cups, and a bag of cotton balls. 5 bags containing unknown liquid substances, a respirator, 2 additional packages of organic vapor cartridges. That all sounds like materials that could be used to manufacture methamphetamine. So that's why I got charged with all that stuff. I don't know why or what the considerations for dropping the charge, or whether they were dropped in return for your agreement to to plead to possession of drug paraphernalia, but it's a little hard not to read that and not come to the conclusion that, given that it was in your bedroom, that you were at least considering manufacturing methamphetamine. That's why
Yeah,
you're getting these questions.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way, doesn't it?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I was unaware of all that. So yeah, certainly sounds like it, but that's not what was going on.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess I'll have to look into that, because I never got anything that said I had all those things.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah, it certainly sounds that way though.
Okay. Any other questions from board members?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. We appreciate your time, and hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Okay, you too.
Thank you. Next up is Mr. McFadden, John McFadden.
Here?
Can hear you and now see you. Thank you, Mr. McFadden. We'll turn it over to you.
All right, on September of 1984, I was going down to Whitewater with a buddy of mine, and we're at a gas station. And another friend came up and it says, can I tag along? So basically what I told him was, if you carry your third of the way, you come along. So make it short, we went over to his house, because he said he had a checkbook there. His grandma gave him money. So I went with him back to the gas station. He wrote me out a check. I cashed it, filled up the gas tank, gave him the money back. So when we got back from Whitewater, apparently money wasn't his, and I got charged for receiving stolen property. So I ended up getting 14 days in jail, and I had to pay back the $400 that the check was worth, and I had to do some community service, which I did in a food pantry. And that's basically what that was all about. And I got 2 years probation on that, which I actually think I only served probably 14 months on it, because he said that everything was good, no reason to see him anymore. Everything was paid up. I was working at the time at New Cap. I worked there for 36 years. I got a bunch of certificates from there. Working on furnaces. Basically what we did is we worked on homes for the elderly and low income. We went in and insulated their homes, put in doors, windows, insulated their attics. So I did that for 36 years. And pretty much now after that, after we retired, my wife, her big dream was to have a bar. So now we have a bar, but we do a lot of things for St. Jude's for benefits, do a lot of things for like benefits for cancer. So I've been pretty busy with that. And I don't know what else you really want me to tell you.
Well, that's helpful, Mr. McFadden. Why don't we turn over to questions from the board, and we'll see what follow-up we have.
All right.
Board, any questions? Jerry?
Mr. McFadden, you got a letter of support from the judge in Oconto County, from the DA in Oconto County, and the mayor of Oconto. How does that make you feel?
It kind of makes me feel good that they still have trust in me. And like I said, I've been, for the last 40 years, been pretty clean. Bless you.
Thank you.
And it makes me feel honored to have them put their trust in me and write me out a letter to send to you guys. It enlightens me that there's still a trust out here.
Excellent. Noble?
Yeah, just maybe somewhere along here, I missed it. the young person that you picked up at the gas station asked you to cash a check. Why was he asking you to cash the check?
That's kind of where I kind of messed up on, because he wrote out to cover his share of his expenses. So he wrote me out the check, which I should have never said right out to me. I should have had him right out to the gas station. That's what I should have done. But then when we got back, if you look at what it says on here, once we got back, he left, went on his own, and he continued to cash checks. I was only involved actually only at one check. But looking at the paperwork, it looks a lot worse than what it really was.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? No. All right. Looks like none. Thank you, Mr. McFadden. Appreciate your time and you sharing this with us today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. All right. Our last applicant this afternoon is Mr. Joseph Birkin. Mr. Birkin, we're ready to talk, or we're ready to hear from you.
Do you hear me?
Can hear you. We can't quite see you yet.
Do I click on something? This is actually start. Start my video.
There we go. All right. Perfect, Mr. Birkin. We'll turn it over to you.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. Being a little nervous here, I've written things down and I'm going to go through it that way. Hello, my name is Joseph Birkin. In November of 1974, I was convicted of 3 counts of burglary and 1 count of theft. For those crimes, I was given 3 years probation with 4 weekends in jail. I was now a felon. I can tell you for a fact that if I would have spent those 4 weekends in jail before my crimes, I never would have happened. It was a very eye-opening experience. I firmly believe if we get more involved with our kids and show them we care, truly care, we would have a better world to live in. I know actions speak louder than words, so I helped by coaching for 14 years, teaching kids respect, hard work, and to have goals. I have seen firsthand how this works. I have 2 daughters, both have full-time jobs, and both are coaches. My youngest daughter has just received High School Coach of the Year in the state of Wisconsin for cheerleading. What else did I do after my 4 weekends in jail? First and foremost, I turned my life around. I respected my teachers, and I graduated from high school. My PO saw the changes I made in my life, and after 1 year, said I no longer needed to report to him. Once out of high school, I got a job in construction, building concrete basement walls. In doing that, I met people from the concrete supply company, and they hired me to be a concrete truck driver. They also needed a semi-driver to bring in supplies, and I did that as well. Because of this, it was a seasonal job, and I would get laid off every year in January and February. In the off season, I got a job with a window company in Green Bay, which then merged with a company in Oshkosh. In a little over a year's time, I became head of sales and was training their employees. I enjoyed the challenges of being in the window business and decided to start my own window company. After about 5 years, I got to know the people of Great Lakes Window Company and their engineers. I helped them design a high-end window for northern climates. They liked how I ran my business, my quality work, and my impeccable service. I was given the largest territory in the state of Wisconsin from Oshkosh to upper Michigan border. In 2019, I sold the business after 35 years. It's still doing well. As far as community involvement, I did 14 years as a volunteer coach, helped fundraising for multiple youth programs. At the high school my girls were attending, I sponsored and developed the first summer league for kids entering high school from different communities as a way for the kids to meet each other before entering high school. I volunteered time and money for the Boys and Girls Brigade. On the business end, I was a member of the Valley Home Builders Association. I served on several committees and charity golf outings. I donated time and windows to Habitat for Humanity. I helped senior citizens when they had window problems, even though they didn't purchase the windows from me. It was amazing how that word got around with the seniors. Now, after age of 66 years old, why do I think I should receive a pardon? I still think I have a lot to offer. From my coaching years and for being in the window business, I've learned how important it is to have respect for others. I now know if I had respect for other people's property, respect for my teachers, respect for arresting detectives, I would not have made those mistakes. One reason for asking for a pardon is I have 3 grandchildren and I love to coach, but the fear of background checks is stopping me. Also, our small town in northern Wisconsin is always looking for more help, and a pardon would go a long way in helping with that process. In conclusion, I would like to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Birkin. We'll just see if the board has any questions for you. Judge Kremers.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. So maybe I missed it when you were at the beginning of your comments this afternoon, but were you waived to adult court?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Did you have a juvenile record before this?
No. The biggest reason was I didn't respect the detectives. I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't squeal on my friends, and they did.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Birkin? Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Birkin. Appreciate your time and you sharing this with the board today. As you probably heard me mention to other folks, you can expect to hear on the status of your application in about a month or 2. And thanks again for your time today.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Birkin is our last applicant of the afternoon. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session in order to consider the applicants before us. So the board will be moving into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning cases before the board, considering specific applications, and for the purposes of considering financial, medical, social, and personal histories of specific persons. Do I have a motion to move into closed session? Noble, do I have a second? Judge Kremers, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. All right, the board will now move into closed session. And board members, I'll just